Hey friends, I am going to show you a quick video on the cycle of Alocasia corms. If you are new here, I am Talon, owner of Thrive Theory Plants, and I am here to make your plant life a little easier. If you are not new here, then welcome back. I sincerely appreciate you coming by. So let's get into it. I want to show you about corms. First, we have a lovely alocasia that maybe you see corms or you want to just do a repot on it. This is kind of what they start out looking like. You see that right there? They kind of start out like that, sticking off the plant. Then you're going to see the little corm itself. Can you see that bulb right there? That is a corm. So when you're repotting your plant, you may find them down in your soil. Once they're a good size, you can pop them right off and you can pot them up. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can pot up your corm to give you a new plant. So let me show you one of them. One of them is in these cute little self-watering cups. I make these. You can use whatever, you can make your own. You could use whatever substrate you want. These are in a fluval stratum and perlite mixture. You can use just perlite, you can use pond, you can use soil, you can use just fluval, you can use whatever. It's really up to you. This is what I choose. I sometimes use contra soil, which is also a really good substrate. So you just put your corm in here in your substrate, add your nutrients, and you are just going to let it be. When you are putting this to grow, you do not need a grow light. You do not need a heat mat. Corms cannot photosynthesize, so you just kind of put it somewhere and let it be until it starts to sprout. Once it starts, it's going to look a little bit like this. At least this one is. You see how it's getting a tiny little sprout coming up? And it's got some roots going down in here. So it'll start like that. Then it'll kind of move on to this one. How this one's starting to grow a little bit taller. It's going to push a leaf soon. Then you're going to start to get leaves on your babies. Here's two of them right now that have leaves. Around now is when you're going to be ready to repot them into a bigger pot. I choose to do it once they have two leaves and you can see a root system growing in there. That's when I'm ready to repot it into a bigger pot. Believe it or not, I did an entire video yesterday and there was no volume where I repotted a few and showed you everything, and there was no volume. So I'm giving you an overview today, but I'm not potting any up because the ones that I had ready are already potted up. I have them here. I have two of them. So here's one. I moved into a bigger pot. It had two leaves and another one coming and a good root system. So I put this one in a 3. This is a 3-inch pot. And then here's another one. This one is a Frydek and this one is a poly, and these are both gonna stay. I just potted them last night, so they're gonna stay on the shelf for a while until I know that they've acclimated into the soil and they're growing another leaf and doing well, and then they'll be ready for the shop. Let me show you some other ones. And once they start getting a little bit bigger, they start looking like this baby right here. This is a black velvet. This one is where I like to see them. And this one is ready and in the shop. And this one actually has some corms of its own forming. Can you see them too popping up? Those will be sprouts of new plants coming in. So this one is in the shop and ready to go. This is the black velvet, and this has such an amazing texture. You can't really see it too much on camera, but it's got a beautiful velvety texture, and it's so dark. The underside is like a burgundy type color. So anyway, this one is where I like to see them when I have them ready to go in my shop. So they start out like this, they get like this, and then once they get a little bigger, they go into the 4-inch pot, and then they just keep going. This is a green unicorn right here. Look how big this leaf is compared to my hand. It's such a beautiful big leaf. This one is similar to the black velvet, only it has a smooth texture to it, but it also has that like burgundy almost color backing to it. I love these alocasia. This one I could bury a little deeper, if you can see these right here, or I could take it out and cut it and make different plants out of it. You saw that happening in another video that I did if you watched it. I also want to show you another way that I successfully grow my corms. If you don't want to be bothered with these little self-watering cups, which you don't have to, there's many ways to do it. I'm going to show you an easier way that you can do it. Like, much easier way that you can do it. Another way is you can just pop them in a little container like this or like this. Anything that has a lid on it. I got these from, I think, the Dollar Tree. And this is like a takeout container or some kind of just little container. You put your corms in here. You add just a tiny bit of water to it, or like a rooting solution. I personally use Clonex clone solution and Growth Technologies root zone. I make a gallon of that at a time, and that's what I give them until they're probably like good and rooted and stable, and then I switch over to my nutrient formula. So when they're in this, you just stack them up, put them on a shelf somewhere, and just forget about them. If they run out of water, you can give them a little bit more. But other than that, you don't do anything. They don't need light. They don't need heat mats. They don't need anything. They will just do their own little thing. Some grow a little bit faster than others. Some take a long time. These came from the fry deck. I don't know if you guys saw me, if you saw the video where I repotted that giant fry deck that I have. But I got these corms, and they are really big corms. But this is what one of them looks like when they start to sprout. So if you can see this, the leaves are coming out here, and then we're getting some roots growing. When I'm potting my corms, whether in the puddle method or whether I'm using a self-watering setup, I put my corms on the side. Some people know and some people don't that you would think that corms would grow their roots from the bottom and sprout their leaf from the top, but that's not how it works at all. They sprout their roots and their leaves from the top of the corm, not from the bottom. So I've learned that if I just put them sideways in either the substrate or the puddle method, it just helps them, it helps it move along just a little bit faster. Here's another one that's in there. You can see this is also a giant chonker. See the roots coming out the top and the leaf sprouting too. So I'm just going to leave these in here. I have 3 of them in here right now. When they start getting a good root system on it and the leaves start to come out a little bit more, like a little bit more than that, I will take them out of here and I will put them in a situation like this. Probably with fluval stratum or contra soil. That's what I choose. But again, you can put it in whatever you want. And then the cycle continues. All of these corms that I grow are from my personal collection. I do not take corms from plants that are in my shop. Like for example, this green unicorn, it has a fully ready developed corm in there, and then we're growing some more, and there's likely some more down in the soil. This one is listed in my shop for sale, and I will not be taking this corm or any corms. If something happens or this plant doesn't sell fast enough and I have to uppot it for some reason, I will leave the corms intact, repot it with the corms attached. If a corm separates, which it has done before when they're just ready to come off, sometimes they'll just come off. I have potted my corm up in a container like this with some sphagnum moss, and I ship it along with the plant. I know some nurseries corm dig before they sell their plants out, and that's kind of how they sustain and continue growing more. I personally do not. If you purchase a plant, in Alocasia, have your corms. You paid for them. So That's just my view, and that's how I do things. Not everybody does it the same, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not judging. It's just not how I do it. I know how upsetting it can be when you get a really mature alocasia that you've purchased, and then you go to repot it. For sure, there's going to be a corm in there, and there's nothing. That's all I'm going to say about it. The only one that I know that takes a while is my elbow. Frydek elbow. I bought 3 of them from 3 different places, mature ones, and none of them had a corm in it. So either all 3 places corm dug them out, or that's just really slow to corm. To be honest, I've grown it up some and then had to repot it, and I still didn't see any. So it's possible that that one just doesn't corm easily. Either way, if there's a corm, you get it in the shop. So I hope that helped you figure out a little bit about the cycle of how a corm works. You cannot cut an alocasia leaf and grow it that way. That's not how this works. You either need to cut the rhizome, separate it, grow it that way, or grow it by corm. If you have any questions or you want to know anything more about alocasia, how I make my little pots, or what substrates I choose to use for my alocasia, what I feed them, anything like that, please leave me a comment below, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Actually, it's what I live for. So leave me a comment, ask me a question. Come on, ask me a question. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me. You guys have a great night. I appreciate you.